I hope you're ready for some ill logic. Last time we went over our Week 6 battle with Matt and the Cleveland cast forms. Please go check that video out first if you have not done so already, as we covered the team breakdown, team builder, and battle, in which, spoiler alert, we grabbed a 4-0 win to bring us up to 5-1 on the season, good for third in the league only by differential. This time we've got Zach and his 4-2 Summit County Psyducks. Timestamps for team builder, battle, and post-game discussion will be in the description. Zach is a menace in the league, being the only one to bring down Steve and the Waterdeep Wobbuffets thus far, and only losing to Michael's Kinglers and Joey's Agrons, two good teams in their own rights. Last season was his first, a VGC season, and he defeated me in the first week of pool play and are out to commanding first place finish. We've got a bit of unfinished business with him, so let's see what we have to contend with. It'll be Gmax Gengar, Kiram, Libero Raboot, Rotom Heat, Mandibuzz, Slurpuff, Serena, Vaporeon, Rhyperior, Turtonator, and Bronzong. When I see this team, I see a great balance of offense and defense, typings, hazards and hazard control, good speed tiers, but maybe a bit thin up top. Very few weaknesses to speak of, honestly. Maybe we'll get a better idea if we break down his team members. Except I think quite a bit of his team has great matchups. Two members I think will ride the bench this week are Raboot, who doesn't have the oomph behind its punches necessary to break through my team, and Serena, who doesn't have the proper combination of power and speed to overcome its poor typing in the matchup. Otherwise, honestly, the other 9 could all pretty feasibly come in my opinion. Looking at the ones I'm most afraid of, Bronzong isn't doing all that much here, though the ground immunity and resistance to some very important attacking types means I do have to be prepared to be able to break through it at all. Next, if there's a week for the Turtonator, if you can reasonably bring it, this is probably it, but I don't even think that's quite enough either. Poor special defense, mediocre typing for the matchup, low attacking stats, mediocre move pool, though it does include things like stab moves, rapid spin, and even the new Scorching Sands, but I think there's a better fire type. Finally, I guess I'll go with Mandibuzz. Dark typing is very good for resisting Dragonbolt's ghost moves and hitting that and Mew super effectively, not to mention the knockoff and defog support, but I'm not really sure it does that much to my other team members. The electric types in particular stand out, and Dragonbolt can obviously carry coverage moves for it if desired. I think if I'm putting myself in his shoes, I'm bringing these other 6. Rhyperior is a ground type against my team. I'm not really sure what else needs to be said. EQ and Stone Edge is a great combo against me. It allows it to come in on electric moves for free, but it struggles with my other coverage options. Vaporeon is the mono team with Heal Bell most importantly, but Wish for some chip teammates is so important too. Scald Burns, Toxic Hits, that sort of stuff tops it off well, in addition to the hefty special bulk. Gmax Gengar is the first of what I believe to be the guarantees, as it doesn't have any switch-ins, and some usual possible checks like Cole or Savali can get outsped and 2 KO'd with the appropriate move, not to mention the ability to boost or KO in or out of Gmax. Rotom Heat has an amazing combination and move pool, with Volt Switch to get out, Overheat for the electric types, Toxic or Thunder Ray for status, Trick to cripple, Pain Split to recover health, Nasty Plot to punish switches. There's so much it can do. It'll be a pain to deal with no matter what set it brings. Slurpuff is a big scary, as it can go either defensively, set up sticky webs for my team, or go cleric duty with aromatherapy, or it can go offensive with a calm mindset, or the infamous citrus berry unburdened belly drum. I can't let it do much of anything, but I can't cover all those options all at once. Finally, Kiram is so strong, so bulky, and so fast, especially when it can back up any one of those options with an item. Scarf, Specs, Life Orb, Boots, Roost, every possible set is so scary, and if I pick the wrong set from him, I'm finished. Similar to Gengar in that there aren't many switch-ins, but the difference is in its versatility and its move pool. So how do I tackle this issue? Not with Volibee, who doesn't beat any member of his team 1v1, though it would be funny to bring it just for the matchup against Mandibuzz. Tangela has use again here between things like Rhyperior and Bronzong, but if they slap a Toxic on their set, it suddenly becomes difficult. Lots of access to knockoff spells a rough time for the Vines as well, so I'll leave it behind. Mantine may be my good luck charm, but I have to leave it this week. Gengar's T-Bolt, Rotom's electric coverage, Kiram's Freeze Dry, it's just too difficult for it to wall the things I'd like it to wall. Vikavolt has real good coverage and flies above webs, but also falls prey to common coverage for my opponent. It's just too slow to do much of anything either. Finally, Gmax Sandaconda has a lot of use as a physical wall that can Gmax in a pinch, but I'm worried about it taking even a bit of damage as it becomes incredibly difficult to function after that, considering the sheer power of things like Kiram or Gengar that I would want it to take a hit from. I mean, it can really only trade at best, though I would have liked Shudskin in the matchup. With these 6, I tried to address specific threats on his team and figure out how to both maneuver around defensively while hit back hard enough offensively, ideally finding opportunities to outtrade him and have that essentially be the win condition. The main mon I expect to outtrade things is going to be this Specs Magnezone. Pretty standard set all around if I do say. If Rhyperior goes down, Electric Spam is free. Bronzong going down allows Flash Cannon. But Rotom Heat resists both very effectively. I anticipate Flash Cannoning until Rhyperior goes down and then Volt switching around on his team. Shouldn't be too tough, I think, considering how strong Zone is and how much damage it's going to be doing to even somewhat tanky targets. The other main breaker trader is going to be this Scarf Dragapult, who is EV to outspeed Unburdened Slurpuff, but also, of course, outspeeds Scarf Kyurem, which I do anticipate to be the one to come. It does an OHKO on Unburdened Slurpuff, but it's a nice check if I stay in and get a bit of damage on Slurpuff before it drums down to 75%. Otherwise, this claims KOs pretty easily with Slurpuff and Bronzong being the Dragon Resists, and Mandibuzz the only possible Ghost Resist, so clicking buttons with Pult should be relatively easy, I think. Not bad, not bad. But these two mons aren't going to be sweeping, so how do I start to break down his team? I picked out a very cool Mew set with Subtoxic Roost Knockoff hitting the two members of his team that are immune to Toxic super effectively, and it can help reduce the damage output overall by putting timers on things like Mandibuzz, Rotom, or Vaporeon. Speaking of, my sub will stand against Mandibuzz's U-turn, any Rotom move minus Overheat if it doesn't have investment, even Vaporeon Scald most of the time with that special defense investment. That's a big idea behind this set. Get in front of something I can sub up on and execute. Should be pretty fun, honestly, as should this set up Sneasel set. I have not had the chance to bring Swords Dance yet, but I don't think Ice Shard is terribly necessary this week, so I thought I'd give Sneasel a chance to OHKO some things by boosting up to +2. Low Kick on Kyurem, Knockoff on Bronzong, Triple Axle on Mandibuzz, all become OHKOs at +2, which is pretty sweet. Looking to force a switch and take advantage, which could be pretty nice. Next I'll go over Colossal real quick, same set as last week because rocks are good. The stab moves are good, and Rapid Spin is a quick answer to webs. It's a great check to Rotom Heat in particular, and with a Shock Berry it can even take hits from something like Kyurem or Rhyperior in a pinch. If it, say, gets up rocks, survives a hit, and hits back super hard, that's its job for the week. That's all I'm asking for. Finally, we've got a throwback to my Week 2 loss with Silvally Poison. The main job, 100%. Is to check that Slurpuff, as I survive hits at +6, and I OHKO it back. But the Poison Stab is nice neutral damage against almost everything else, minus the Rhyperior, Bronzong, and Gengar. Toxic is unmissable too if I anticipate a switch, and Parting Shot for momentum. But seriously, I'm not bringing this out until Slurpuff comes out. So we'll kind of see what it needs to do after that point. I think I can use it much better now than before, so let's see how I use that and the others in the actual match. Well, this is pretty unfortunate. No Slurpuff nullifies my Silvally strat almost entirely. No Rotom Heat was really just not on my radar anywhere. And no Vaporeon makes some sense, but it's still unexpected. Mandibuzz, Bronzong, and Turtonator fill those spots instead, which, while not terribly unexpected, may actually make for a much harder matchup considering the team I have brought. Maybe a coal lead for some early rocks would be nice, so we'll try that. And he is going to lead off with Mandibuzz. This may look like an easy rocks early, but I'm pretty worried about Toxic or Knockoff. So without a Slurpuff, I figure that Silvally could just catch something as it just U-turns right out into the Bronzong. That's pretty unfortunate. Bronzong can't do that much to threaten me, but that could make it more predictable. Crunch can do decent damage, but I think Silvally could do more than that, so I'm just going to Parting Shot back into Cole. Who will eat a Psychic with ease. Rock can go up now pretty easily as he goes into the Turtonator, maybe expecting to eat the Fire Hit from me. So what can Turt do to me? I can take the Scorching Sands, but I'm just going to fire off a Rock Blast. He makes a great double into Rhyperior, who of course eats that up. Absolutely no problem. We get a few hits there, but is at this point that I realized I messed up. Where's my Earthquake switch? This thing doesn't have to be banned, I just claim a killer with a stab move. And what do I do about it? Cole doesn't hit this thing, it's outsped. Pult can't take a hit. Mew needs to be at full health to help deal with this. Zone is useful, I can't switch in. I don't actually have an answer, so I can't be sacking something every time Rhyperior comes in. I have to pick the least useful member right now. Silvally's main use is gone, it doesn't resist much of anything. It's maybe a Mandibuzz check at best, but others fulfill that role too, so in comes Silvally. Silvally can go. Cole has some use. I can possibly tank hits a little bit later, if possible. I know I previously made a mistake by not sacking my Silvally Poison to a ground type that looked like it was going to run through my team, so goodbye. Magnezone does not actually KO right now with Flash Cannon, as I don't get the analytic boost, so my middle ground play is actually Mew. But this moment here I think is a big misplay. I clicked Knockoff this turn. I expected him to switch into something like Zong or Mandibuzz, and I eat a big hit, which ends up being a crunch. It takes way too much of my health there. I was really worried about him switching in something else to take advantage of me, but I kind of didn't think to recognize he had no idea what my Mew set was. He really had no reason to switch out except for potentially being scared of whatever Mew was about to do Rhyperior. As it is, I only did 15% and Mew is now too low to fire off the Toxic. I really needed to use that last turn. Somehow I was scared of something like Gengar switch again, which really doesn't make much sense when you think about it. Rhyperior is still in front of me, still a big threat that I can't deal with right now, especially considering multiple Flash Cannon switches exist. And I've already been terrorized by a low-tier ground type, so you'd think I'd recognize what was happening, but alas. I'm going to try roosting up a little bit, to see if maybe he could actually be scared out, but that's not happening, is it? Especially not after this next turn here, where I roost one more time and I get, unfortunately, a defense drop there, which was honestly just a matter of time. That was a game of chicken that I was not going to be winning anyways, so unfortunately we are already back to the time to sack off something else. This is not a great position to be in. I spent a lot of time here thinking, but ultimately decided the least useful member left was the Colossal. It already got up rocks, no webs to spin away your rocks from Rhyperior. It's probably fine to let it go down. And if I'm going to be down 4-6, it isn't a useful piece to have in order to mount a comeback. Unfortunate, but hey, I guess he's in range Flash Cannon now. Magnezone needs to come in, and he needs to switch, but I still can't exactly afford to play cheekily right now, as Rhyperior can still just win if I miss the read on the switch. Dartinator makes good sense as a switch, especially when you see boots on it, and that damage, that is max special defense. Perfect zone switch, isn't it? So that's unfortunate to see, but it makes enough sense still. It's not like it's going to be able to do that again. So Flash Cannon should be able to take it out next time it comes in, which is pretty nice. So for now, it's out to Mew to take on the incoming ground move, which was pretty obvious, I think, and it burns. So, yeah, of course, without the burn, forcing a switch brings me to a clean 100%, as you can see from that leftovers plus another turn of leftovers and the 50% I'm getting from Roost that bring me up to 99% or 100%. But now, of course, I will be unable to increase my health behind subs without Roost. Lovely. I just needed more of a challenge in the comeback attempt. We haven't even seen the two biggest threats yet, so it's starting to look a little impossible, honestly, but we'll do our best, I suppose. I'll go back up to 87% on the Rapid Spin. Sure, this thing had boots anyways, and Mana Buzz probably does too. It's fine, I guess. Definitely considered subbing here, but while burned, I'm not sure that's going to be useful. Mana Buzz to switch, so I'm just going to click Toxic on it, which is cool. Now I'll sub, anticipating maybe a switch or something. But of course, Knockoff is just going to come in instead. That's fine, that makes a lot of sense. Toxic damage can ramp up, and he'll have to switch eventually. Sub again. I'll be winning the exchange here until... Yes, U-turn fails to break the sub. In comes Rhyperior. And that's going to have to be fine. It's actually pretty perfect because I need to get the Toxic off on this thing. And after Toxic, I should just be able to roost all this out until it goes down unless it gets a very big defense drop. Knockoff's not going to do any damage at this point, so I just kind of need to Toxic stall it as best as possible. At this point, I will gladly trade Mew for Rhyperior if that's really what needs to happen. That really allows Magnezone to go in too with the electric moves, so we're going to... Oh, Toxic miss. I'm going to be honest, I think that's probably game right there. Again, I've made misplays that led to this point. Primarily, I'm starting to believe the team building, but even in game, it's... I don't want to keep blaming luck. I really don't want to. But I'd have liked to see what would have happened if Mew hadn't been burned, and if it hadn't missed the Toxic. Here, I'd been able to roost a bunch, keep my health, and force in something else, maybe the Gengar, I guess. I'd have to make the right prediction at the right time to get ahead there, but... With that missed, Mew's fully exposed. I have to make another decision around this Rhyperior. Do I stay in? Roosting will do no good at this point, so the only thing I could do is Toxic. Is Sneasel worth keeping? Is Magnezone? Is Pult? In the end, I need to Toxic this thing pronto. Even if it just goes down to Revenge, I need to get this thing low. Toxic lands this time, Mew goes down. Again, that was... I should have prepped better around this thing. I should have. I'll go into more detail in the post-game commentary. But it's just unfortunate. At least it's Toxic now. At least it's starting to get a little bit lower. Zone, of course, is going to be the switch again. And the switch in this time is, of course, going to be Bronzong. And I clicked Flash Cannon, obviously. Only 26%. That stings. That does. And after lefties, it's clear I can't do anything. At this point, I need to make every single play correctly to win. So, Dragon Pole coming in the body press, that's the only move that would make sense for him to hit me, honestly. Even over Earthquake, because the Psychic earlier implies it'd be mixed at best, so body press makes a lot of sense, so good switch into there. Next, I need to U-turn out, I think, to keep momentum, so I'm just going to... Oh, protect. Oh, I have 2 choice mons left. Are you kidding me? That's rough to predict around. Mandibuzz. If Mandibuzz goes down, then Ghost moves are spammable. Rhyperior going down makes Electric move spammable. But, oh man, how do I get rid of this thing? That Sneasel only does about 2/3 with knockoff. I'm just U-turning again on the Turtonator switch in, which I guess is fine. I'll go to Magnezone, but it's only to switch back out into Dragapult. I should cover the Rhyperior switch on Electro move, and it must easily take the Scorching Sands, which also burns. This is getting to be pretty impossible at this point, admittedly, especially since I still haven't even seen Kyurem or Gengar, but these burns the Toxic Mist, it's fine, I guess. It's fine. I need to claim a KO. I do. I'm just going to stay in Draco. Yeah, stayed in, down goes Turt. That's something, I guess, but I really wanted those other ones to go down first. Oh well. In comes Kyurem the monster. Its appearance now says it's 100% Scarfed. I have to make that assumption. And I've got Magnezone should be able to switch in, get an attack off for free. So 24%, that's Scarf damage. We'll have to take that for now, so let's make another play, I guess. The safest play here is double into Dragapult, as he either has to go Bronzong or Rhyperior. Unfortunately, that burn is not doing me any favor in these plays, especially combined with this Protect. I have to beta play first, so Shadow Ball and the anticipated Protect. That means he has to go Mandibuzz, which means, yep, Sneasel is a double. Since it hasn't gotten a chance to come out yet, this is a critical turn here. Triple Axle is the obvious play, but is that what I need to do? Swords Dance is very tempting, but after I get a KO, Kyurem just revenges, and can do so more safely against the fragile Sneasel. Maybe anticipating the zone switch? That scares me a little bit. Honestly, I probably should have just SD'd here, but I clicked the triple axle. I anticipated staying in or swapping to Kyurem, neither of which would really make much sense in hindsight. Not that it matters, because I only get one hit anyways, but that was a chance to make a big play. +2 knockoff would claim KO here. This is his Ice Resist, and yet I need damage on the Zong that can stick, so knockoff is going to be my play, even as I fall prey right afterwards to the Body Press. The game is basically out of reach at this point, so let's see what can happen. Pult comes in. I'm going to swap out on the Protect, and what am I accomplishing right now? I'm showing off a bit, down 2 to 5. Anyways, whatever. Flash Can is safe, I think, so I'll do it on the Body Press, which actually it did quite a bit. I'm starting to not make every single play right, for sure. The Sneasel play stands out, but letting the Dragapult take the chip, not electric moving there, I'm starting to not get every single play, which is what I needed. There are too many right plays in a row that I need to make, which is super unfortunate and is very difficult. So we'll kind of see here. Dragapult needs to come in on Mandibuzz. I'm just taking so much chip, so much damage. Just going to turn out on the knockoff, and I'm getting rid of the specs. May actually be a good thing, potentially. I'm going to Volt Switch on the Roost. He actually ends with a little bit less health than he had before, considering the toxic damage and everything. I want Pult to have out on a KO, preferably from Toxic, so I can pick up Draco Meteor Kill on the Kyurem. So I have to U-turn out again. Zone survives barely. I need to stay in though, and he roosts on the Volt Switch again. Well, this is not pretty, but at this point, Shadow Ball will KO something. So I'm going to just take the Mandibuzz, I guess. It's 2 to 4, but again, it's Kyurem again. Back to zone, Ice Beam, yeah, and the only hope is that I hit every Draco, and I crit a couple of times. Kyurem does actually go down. This was how I envisioned it going down in the first place. That's the magic of the Scarf on Dragapult, but there's just way too much left to overcome. Gengar still has its G-Max left, and considering the damage that I do with this Draco, even a crit would have only done about 3/4 of its health. I would need another crit to take care of the remaining 59% on Rhyperior. Not to mention Bronzong's resistance to Dragon would probably require another crit there too at that point. Not in the cards this time. GG to Zach, who takes me down for the 2nd season in a row. That Rhyperior put in a ton of work. Let's take a look at it all a little more in depth, find out how he got to this 0-3 loss. So saving Gengar for the end was a great decision for him, honestly, as a secondary answer aside from the Scarf Kyurem. Those two felt like essentially the same Mon, so I'll mention them both here. The game plan from Zach was definitely to pivot around his first 4 Mons, nabbing KOs with a bulky part of his team until one of them went down, and then in came Kyurem, who grabbed a KO almost every single time, It could then swap back out into a bulky member afterwards, rinse and repeat. When Kirim went down, Gengar fulfilled the same role, except being outsped by Sneasel and Dragapult, and bulky in a different way with the G-Max. So, effective for sure, as I was scared all game of these two coming in, but they just didn't come out until it was too late for me, and only when they needed. Would have liked to see him try to get them in earlier, but he didn't need to. Mandibuzz seemed like an odd bring at first, but yeah, that Dark typing made it too tough to spam Shadow Ball with Dragapult. So that in and of itself probably made it worth, honestly. Turtonator is okay, I think, but it just feels like Rotom would have done more. Granted, the Turtonator burned 2 of my Mons, and it spun hazards, but the rocks really didn't seem to matter, and Rotom could do the same thing with Will-O-Wisp and Defog. I can't complain too much, of course, but still. The Bronzong was very annoying for Zone, with Protect punishing my choice users way too hard, and the Steel typing resisting my Flash Cannons and Draco Meters was absolutely painful to deal with. Body Press is the only coverage was honestly good enough. And Rhyperior, yeah, another Tier 4 ground type, running rampant through the squad with EQ. This was my fault. I didn't prepare for it enough. Even ran through options like Surf Silvally or Grass Not Mew, but I didn't bring them. I didn't bring anything. Tangela, Mantine, Sandaconda, none of them came. The matchup itself was just advantageous for Rhyperior, and I didn't take it seriously enough. That's definitely a fault in the game for sure. As for my side, Dragapult was definitely a bright spot. I knew that Scarf Kyurem would come. I needed to have my own Scarf to answer it, and it worked out well with that just dropping bombs on things. Mandibuzz plus Bronzong was tough to break through, though, and things like Rhyperior were already ruining the rest of my team's answers to them, so that's definitely disappointing. Mew got hacked a good bit, but that's not necessarily the issue. I liked the set a lot, but against the team he brought, maybe not so much. Maybe something to better offensively handle the walls would have been better, like a setup set with coverage moves. I don't know. Maybe if I hadn't gotten burned and Toxic had hit, we'd be talking about how brilliant a set it was. I just didn't have the breakers prepared. Speaking of, Magnezone was supposed to be that big breaker. It just fell flat, honestly. Turns out Specs was not the set. I needed to recognize the importance of being able to switch moves in a matchup where the only immunity was slower than I was. The extra chip on things like Turtonator or Rotom would be cool with Specs, but it seriously it wasn't enough compared to the pivoting potential I could have gotten, so I think that was a mistake for sure. Silvally was too specialized. Its purpose was to stop a specific set on a specific mon that didn't even show up. Outside of that, I anticipated use against things like Rotom or Vaporeon, who also didn't show up. As such, pretty useless, definitely needed to get some coverage moves or different typing to let it handle a wider variety of threats. Surf for Rhyperior, Taunt for Mandibuzz, something. Sneasel was a cool set in theory, but the need to set up is just a hindrance to the mon itself. The biggest issue, honestly, though, was Kyurem being Scarfed, which would always stop a sweep short, but at least force it to have less power. I wish I could have SD'd up earlier, but Kyurem stopped it hard. Honestly, without that, +2, it would have gone through everything potentially. Turtonator could have stopped it. Rhyperior was too healthy, but once those two were chipped, well, probably not a terrible call, but the issue was that it just couldn't switch in, and the rest of the team didn't really help with that. The biggest issue, in my opinion, was Colossal, though, who probably shouldn't have been here at all. Sure, it got up rocks. In theory, it could tank hits, but aside from hitting the Bronzing, it just really didn't do anything better than Sandaconda could, which is my biggest issue. Defensive was just worse than the Snake, and the Snake being able to go big was really what I needed to force my way through something earlier in the game, or later to take on the G-Max Gengar, which didn't end up coming in until much later. But I couldn't do anything remotely like that with Colossal. Maybe Bronzong would have been a bigger issue then, but Cole went down early anyways, so those are some of my thoughts. A lot of issues for me in game and in team building, a couple bad hacks. Most of all, great play from my opponent, Zach, though, who identified Rhyperior's strength in the matchup, executed properly without a major misstep, brought a great team for the matchup. Props to him. He's going to join me at 5-2, him going up and me going down. We're tied for third, the other two 6-1 teams. It's getting tougher to realize a scenario where I can catch up to either of them that currently have first-round buys. Most importantly, though, we're out of teams that are over 500 that I've beaten. I need to get a good win in here somewhere to prove myself and to prove to the league that I've still got it. We'll go for that against Joey and the Akron Agrons this next week, sitting at 4-3 in 5th place. A tough opponent who we may have a good matchup against. Let's find out next time. See ya!